NATO troops stormed the coast of Norway, rehearsing an amphibious assault to drive out a fictitious invading force. This is Trident Juncture, a two-week NATO military exercise that began on October 25th. With more than 50,000 troops from 31 countries. NATO says it's the alliance's biggest military drill since the Cold War, and that the exercise is purely defensive.
This is a necessary exercise to make sure that NATO continues to provide credible deterrence. And the reason why we do that is to prevent a conflict, of course not to provoke a conflict.
Russian observers were invited to monitor the drills, but Moscow called the exercise provocative and anti-Russian.
Этот курс не способствует укреплению стабильности и безопасности на севере Европы, на европейском континенте в целом.
Russia's Navy plans to test missiles in international waters off Norway's coast. NATO said it expects Russia to behave professionally. The exercises come amid persistent tension between NATO and Russia, which seized Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 and backs separatists in an ongoing conflict in eastern Ukraine. Trident Juncture involves some 250 aircraft, 65 ships, and 10,000 tanks and vehicles. Equipment and troops were moved swiftly from North America and across Europe.
What is the greatest concern of NATO is that the alliance won't be able to reinforce member states on the eastern flank. We are prepared. Don't mess with us. That's the core message of the Trident Juncture. Then the implication is that Russia and Russian politicians would think twice before even contemplating any military action.
NATO's Trident Juncture comes a month after Russia said it staged its largest ever military exercise. It said some 300,000 troops took part in the Vostok 2018 war games in the country's east. And in September 2017, there were big exercises in western Russia and Belarus, close to several NATO nations. Those drills involved tens of thousands of personnel, according to security analysts.
If you look at the scale of the exercises conducted by both sides, the Russian ones dwarf anything that NATO might be able to put together at the moment. So yes, I think it's fairly likely that Russia will continue its already existing trend of bigger and more ambitious exercises. So it's not exactly a race, because Russia started some years before NATO actually decided to take an interest in doing the same thing itself.
Adding to the tension, the United States has threatened to withdraw from the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty because it says Russia isn't complying with the deal. NATO's chief says new threats must also be addressed. Throughout the exercise, NATO's Strategic Communications Center of Excellence is monitoring Russian media outlets for false or negative reports about the drills.
The challenge today is more unpredictability, and also, of course, more use of what we call hybrid tactics, cyberattacks.
NATO nations should expect to be tested further by Russia, says this analyst.
Further violations of the airspace in the Baltic states, repeated tests of the, let's say, NATO's preparedness.
NATO's Trident Juncture military exercise runs until November 7th.